Hi, and welcome back. Today I'm going to teach you how to meditate from a mindfulness perspective. Mindfulness meditation is extremely easy to learn, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and we're going to go through this together. I'm actually going to meditate with you, and as we do so, I will comment on what's going on inside my mind so that you can get an idea about how you're supposed to do it yourself. I'm also going to include a section on body scanning so you can just follow along with what I'm doing. Hi. So the first thing you need to do is find a spot like I have, which is a fairly relaxed spot. I have my little cup of tea here in case I get thirsty. And what I will do is I will go through it and articulate what's going on inside of me so you can get an idea of how mindfulness meditation works. So, comfortable spot, arms and legs resting comfortably to the side, preferably not touching. It's not a big deal if they do, but I think it kind of helps. And the first thing I'll do is I'll just close my eyes. And as I close my eyes, I will start my mantra. And my mantra is, I'm aware of my breathing, and I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. And I will repeat that mantra in my head. But for you, I'll say it out loud so you can become aware of it. I'm aware of my breathing, and I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. And in my mind flashed in a TV show that I watched yesterday. So I'll say I'm aware that there's a flash of a TV show in my mind, and I accept that I thought that. I bring my attention back to my breathing. I'm aware of my breathing, and I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. And suddenly there flashed a picture of an ear. And I say to myself, I'm aware that I'm thinking of an ear. And I accept that I'm thinking of an ear. And I bring my consciousness back to breathing. And I'm aware of the way that I'm breathing right now. And I accept that I'm breathing. So the whole point is that whatever comes to mind, I accept it. Then I refocus back to my breathing. I'm aware of my breathing. And I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. I'm aware of the sounds of the traffic outside of the room. And I accept those sounds as I continue to focus on my breathing. And I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. Now, I might take a moment from the meditation and body scan. As I turn my attention inwards, I can first become aware of all the tension through my body. And as you can see, I kind of like roll the body, hearing my neck crack and my shoulders loosening up. I feel a yawn. the sense of water flooding my eyes. I become aware of my toes and my feet. And I feel a throbbing sensation in my right foot. Somehow I hurt that foot the other day. I feel more of a precise pounding sensation above my left eye. And I'm aware of the traffic outside my window, and I accept the traffic sounds as I focus again on body scanning. I'm just aware of my body. I'm aware of the sensations of my back pushing against the chair, my calf muscles and my thighs, and I feel a tingling. I feel how my back is upright. I feel my chest. Feel my heart beating. My jaw wants to open a little bit. Now I'll go back to the mindfulness. I'm aware that a tram just passed outside the window, and I accept that sound passed. I'm aware that I was thinking of someone holding their head, and I accept that I had those thoughts. I'm aware of my breathing. And I accept the way that I'm breathing. I'm aware of the fact that I thought of a monkey's head and profile. I accept that I thought that. Aware that I'm watching someone in my mind's eye who is chewing. And I accept that. I'm aware that I have this desire to swallow, so I'll swallow. And I accept that. And as I sit, I don't really say very much inside my mind's eye, but images pop into mind, and I just accept those images. I'll let you know which images pop into mind. And as I name each image, you can repeat, I'm aware of X, where you put the name of the image, and I accept that, just so that you can practice that phrase and you can memorize it. I see a little girl sitting in a bed. I see a little girl who made a fort out of blankets in her bedroom. and any image that pops into mind, I simply meet it with an accept and awareness. When I first started doing mindfulness, I had to repeat that phrase several times until now I just do it automatically without thinking about it. And I can observe the noise going on inside my mind. And you have to ask yourself, well, who is the observer? Because any part of myself that I can't observe can't be the core of who I am. Have you ever thought about the fact that you have never seen yourself except through a mirror or some sort of video? Or you can't see your own back without a mirror? I think these psychological aspects of understanding our deeper self, it's not so much a matter of understanding, but of discovery. And I hope you're meditating with me. I'm aware and I accept with whatever comes into awareness. I'm aware and I have full acceptance of everything that comes into awareness. I'm aware of the sensation that I'm moving, like as if I was driving, but looking backwards out of the bed of a truck. I'm aware that there was a tension that went through my body and just kind of released, and I accept that. Let's go through the body scanning again. I want you to become aware of your toes and your feet. Now your calf muscles, the soles of your feet, and your ankles. I'm aware of the fact that my dog moved around in the background, and I accept that. And I'm aware of my breathing, and I accept the way that I'm breathing right now. I open my eyes to check the time. So why does mindfulness work? I've been doing mindfulness for many years, so there really isn't anything that comes to mind that I feel bad about or surprises me. But mindfulness is a way of getting rid of the automatic response between what you're thinking and what you're feeling. I'm going to count from 1 to 10, and when I come to 10, I will awake completely, and we'll sum up what happened. 1, 2, 3, coming back to an awakened state. 4, 5, 6, opening my eyes. 7, 8, 9, and 10. So let me explain to you exactly how this works. So in mindfulness, you're focusing on your breathing. It could be your facial expressions or some other aspect of your body, but in this case, we did our breathing. Now, as you focus on the breathing, this is a very boring task for the brain. And your brain will want to start entertaining itself by thinking about all kinds of stuff. And the goal is just to be present in the moment and accepting whatever comes to mind. My mind is relatively quiet, but some people have thousands of thoughts coming in at the same time. And in that case, you would say, I'm aware of my breathing and I accept the way that I'm breathing. And then when you get bombarded by the thoughts, you might say something like, I'm bombarded by all kinds of thoughts and I accept every thought that comes to mind. And then you refocus on your breathing. I'm aware of my breathing and I accept the way that I'm breathing. As I've said before, what will happen over time is that stuff that you don't really like will start to come to mind. Bad memories, things that are upsetting, etc. And then you can refocus, or your mind will refocus on just accepting it. And eventually, because you're accepting it, it will lose its power over you and you will become quieter and more relaxed. Phase 2 of mindfulness meditation, because I just described phase 1, is to be able to just be present in the moment without commenting what's going on. That happens after a while when you've been doing with the comment, because then that becomes automatic and you just have this general feeling of acceptance. Even to this day, I often feel like, am I doing it right? Well, I guess we have to kind of change perspective and ask ourselves, have I become quieter? Have I become more focused over time? And the answer would definitely be yes. I definitely think that mindfulness meditation should be incorporated into everyone's life because of our smartphones. We're so used to scrolling and changing focus, being a bit restless, that this is a great way to train the brain to just focus on something that seems meaningless, but yet will give you back so much in return. What happens is that we are reactive individuals. We see something and we suddenly want to eat even though we weren't hungry. we hear something and we suddenly want to pursue that and talk about it. Or we get stimulated on the phone. This leads to like a dopamine overload. We get too much dopamine going on inside our brains and everything is just so easy. In the old days, you could just go out and grab some honey, but you'd have to work for it. You'd have to climb the tree, get stuck a lot of times, get stung up quite a few times, and then eventually you get your honey, you get your reward. You wanted food? Well, you had to go hunt for it or go gather for it. Today, you just walk down to the supermarket and you just pick up whatever you want. There's the tram again. I'm not going to remove it this time. And the interesting thing is that we are constantly have this dopamine overload, and we get it through our phones as well. Some people get it also through different types of drugs or alcohol. I consider an alcohol a drug, by the way. And we are just over flooding our system. So mindfulness is also a way of detoxing, of becoming completely grounded in the here and now. That's why it's so important to be able to practice this, because you become more at one with yourself, you become more level-headed, and it allows you to gain that self-control that you might have always desired. I think I mentioned the other day in my last video, I had this epiphany. Suddenly I realized everything has its place, and I just automatically started putting stuff away. I used to be very, very untidy, and probably compared to some people, I still am untidy, but I've become much more systematic about putting things away. Everything has a spot. And I think that's just a result of several years of meditation that suddenly I just changed automatically. And what I'm arguing for is that you can understand what you want to do, yet you can't necessarily follow through. And that's not your fault. You just might not have the underlying neurology to support the new behavior, or the underlying neurology to support the behavior over time. It's kind of like jogging. You might be able to jog like 2 or 3 kilometers, but not something between 5 and 10 until you build up the stamina. And I really think mindfulness meditation is a way of building up this inner stamina so that when you want to make a change, you have the underlying neurology to support that change. And so if we're talking about temptations or anything that's trying to distract you, like you want to start procrastinating, well, mindfulness is the key to be able to understand what's going on inside you, because it helps you become more introspective. That means you're looking inwards, you're focusing on what's going on, and you're accepting it. I'm not necessarily saying that you should always be accepting it. Cognitive therapy is where you actually challenge the thought or the belief and you actively fight against it, which is okay too. I think they both have their place. However, I think that mindfulness is kind of like the general exercise of the brain. And then when you really need to stop something like ruminating on something very painful, well, the fact that you've been doing mindfulness builds up that ability to actually stop that thought. And I've definitely used all kinds of techniques to help people stop negative thoughts, push them out of their mind. And sometimes it works. And that's because they already have that neurology that can support it. But what do you do when you meet someone who doesn't have that? Well, then you have to have some sort of something in your toolbox to offer so that they can build that up within themselves. I definitely think, and I've definitely hoped, that this little demonstration of mindfulness was valuable for you and will help you. Okay, this next section is going to be the book review that I want to share with you, and I'm going to put on the screen the title of the book. And I have also asked AI to generate a book review for me, and I will include the generated book review. I've gone through it and I've modified it a bit so that I can, it hasn't hallucinated or said anything wrong. The name of the article that I wrote together with AI is called A Groundbreaking Look at the Mind-Body Connection. The book is called Spark, The Revolutionary New Science of Exercise and the Brain, written by John J. Ratey. This book explores the whole idea of the mind-body connection between how your physical movements and body, how it influences your ability to learn, maintain a stable mood, and just become a more robust person in terms of tackling stress. Key insights into the book are that when we exercise, our brains are producing dopamine, serotonin, neuroepinephrine, and all of these things help us regulate our mood, help us stay focused, and stay on track in terms of getting things done, keep our motivation up. A friend of mine, he's being diagnosed as bipolar, and he uses exercise instead of using medicine. However, I would not advocate for that if you are someone who has that disease. You definitely have to do that together with a qualified physician if you want to try to use exercise instead of medicine. But exercise can help people with ADHD, it can help depression, it can help anxiety. I mean, if we could put into pill form what exercise does for the brain and the body, if I could do that, I'd be a multimillionaire, because it has so many positive, beneficial effects. The interesting thing is that our ancestors learned always when they were in motion. In other words, if they were going to find food, they had to move. If they were going to find a mate, they had to move. If they were going to find a place to sleep for the night, they had to move. Our brains are intimately connected to the muscles in our body. And our bodies, when we're moving and exercising, we're producing a chemical called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. And this is kind of like fertilizer for the brain that allows you to learn faster, get more done, and understand more quickly. And what happens is that we've seen research with children, and this is explored quite a bit in the book, that if students voluntarily exercise before class, they will get better grades. Likewise, men who are in their 50s, 60s, and also women, if they exercise before they try to learn a new language, their retention rate of new words will increase by 20 to 30%. And this proves the whole idea that these BDNF factors that are acting like fertilizer in the brain, they definitely become more relevant when we exercise and definitely help people with quite a bit. It also helps reduce cortisol. Now, cortisol comes along with when we have a lot of adrenaline in the system. When we're stressed, our body's creating cortisol. And by the way, when we have too much cortisol in our bodies, it makes us feel burned out. So burned out is but it is a very serious result of not listening to yourself, not setting hard limits, and allowing yourself to be maybe doing something you should actually be saying no to, but you feel like you have to do it either through some sort of internal obligation that you have, or beliefs about your self-worth and that I can only be worthwhile if I actually do something. But it might also be connected to this idea that you have a workplace where the leadership is not understanding, and they push and push and push you to the limits, and you don't say no. Well, we know that exercise can help to a certain degree mitigate the worst parts of this, and it can also help you get out of a burned out state much quickly. Psychosomatic response is very prevalent, and especially when we're talking about burnout, because you might be anticipating going back to work and just feeling those very uncomfortable feelings without even being at work. So this cortisol that's building up inside of you because of this psychosomatic response will actually make the muscles feel lethargic, heavy in the head. You'll just not have any energy to do anything. Spark doesn't go into that in as much detail as I think is important to understand, but it's definitely going to cover everything you want to know about how movement facilitates learning, how it unlocks the brain's full potential, how it can help and be a replacement for antidepressants, help with metabolic disorders, metabolism. It can promote longevity, and it can definitely help you quite a bit in your journey of becoming a better you. But again, as I said, never do this stuff unless you are following a doctor's advice. It's a very important book to understand because it complements quite a bit this series that we're working on in terms of the narrative. I just was teaching you earlier in this video about how to do a mindfulness meditation. You might hear my dog in the background scratching. I have a lovely German Shepherd, and so she does scratch every once in a while, which kind of is a little bit annoying, but I'm aware of the fact that she's scratching, and I accept that. Okay, so I'm just looking through my notes here and this article that I'm going to post with this podcast. Click on the link there and you can download the article. Thanks for this session, and if you've liked this video, go ahead and hit the like and give me a comment. Thanks.